Hello everyone and welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're doing good and well. So it's time for a new album review this Monday, and I'm talking about the 17th and final self-titled studio album from legendary thrash metal band Megadeth. This album was released on the 23rd of January via the new label Black to Black, and the album is 10 tracks and 41 minutes in length, unless of course you include the bonus tracks on this release as well. So this is the first album actually to feature Teamy Mandisari on guitars, and it also has James Lomenzo on here. He featured last on 2009's Endgame. And I have to say, I'm a massive Megadeth fan. I've loved so much of what they've done over the years. I would go as far as to say that actually in more recent years, in the more recent era of the band, they have been more consistent and more productive than their rivals Metallica. I think they've had post 2000 just more records for a start, and quite a few better albums too, to be perfectly blunt and honest about that. And I think this album for me, despite what I've just said, and that they've got nothing left to prove, as it's their final album, their swan song album, and taking into account as well everything that Dave Mustaine has been through more recently, I was still a tad disappointed by this. And I went in with fairly low expectations anyway, because the singles didn't do a whole lot for me overall. I still went in with, the hopes as a long-time fan that we'd get something a little more. Ultimately, for me, as a whole, this record felt a little bit half-baked. And as I understand, they decided, somewhat quite far into the recording process, that this would be the Swan Song album. I just think as that Swan Song, deep down, I just hoped for something a little bit more. Wanted some of that sharpness back, some of that bite back of those old Megadeth albums, just like a last hurrah, just for Dave to put absolutely everything into this final release. And ultimately, I just felt like it wasn't quite there for me personally. I appreciate that, if you love this album, that's absolutely, no problem with that at all. But yeah, for me, it didn't quite reach that mark that I was hoping for as a final Megadeth album, if this is indeed to be their final album. So let's go into some of the songs on this album, to go a little bit further into that, maybe to explain myself just a bit more. So the opening track, Tipping Point, I actually thought was a really good opening song, featuring some of the classic Megadeth kind of groovy riffage, and laid down a pretty good marker, I think, for the album. But after that, we had singles like I Don't Care, which, whilst I've never expected a huge amount from Megadeth lyrically, to be honest, I come to Megadeth more often for a good bit of, thrashy riffage, the classic Megadeth grooves, and the interesting changes instrumentally. I do like to hear some sharpness still in Dave's vocals, though, and some creativity there. But in this song, it was just very repetitive, very straightforward. You could even say it's a little bit on the punk rock side, as some people have said. But yeah, ironically, I didn't care so much for this song. It just didn't do much for me. Let There Be Shred was kind of like I guess the guys having a bit of a jam session to me. That's what that sounded like. It was okay. It was fun, I guess, and probably fun for the band to perform. But as a Megadeth fan, as a long-time fan, the track personally just didn't do a huge amount for me. There were, however, a couple of cuts towards the end of this record, or the later part of it, that I did really like. And the first of those I'm going to mention is Made to Kill. Just a stronger song on this album. Actually, it sounded a little bit like, it reminded me personally of some of the Endgame. Some of those songs on that record, with the rhythmic arrangements, the quick changes, the sharpness in the sort of tempo variations. And I was like, it's a little bit Endgame-like in this. This is more promising for me. So I did like Made to Kill. That was certainly, for me, a high point on this album. Obey the Call also had a mean, slower, thicker, but, pretty cool Megadeth riff. A pretty cool riff there, I think, from Dave. Reminds me a little bit of something perhaps on, one of their sort of earlier records. But still nothing here that I would say was particularly blew me away, but a pretty solid track again there. And the last note, despite actually offering some cool acoustic parts, I liked the flamenco-esque kind of guitar moments in that track, and it was a fairly solid track. But as a last song to a last album, was it quite, up to what I'd hoped for? No, not quite. It was okay. It certainly wasn't a bad song, but as a last hurrah, not quite there for me. And if we're going to count You know, like Ride the Lightning, the cover in this album. Again, I actually thought that was a decent cover. You know, it matched the instrumentation on the original Ride the Lightning song. But I don't think Dave's vocals are a great fit for Ride the Lightning, really, as a song. I thought maybe he might choose a different kind of Megadeth, Metallica song, sorry, if they're going to cover a Metallica song. And actually, I would have hoped for some more evolution in the riffage. You know, if you're going to take the Ride the Lightning song, given what I know Dave has been capable of over the years, what he is capable of with his musicianship, why not just do a few more changes to the original riffage? Why not bring in something else? Why not take some chances? Why not throw something else at this song? Why not just throw in a slight variation on that riff, you know, on the dun 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 dun. Why not go dun 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 dun, or something crazy, you know? Just throw something more at this original, the original song, and show us what you've done to interpret it slightly differently. I mean, that's just my view on Ride the Lightning's cover. But yeah. Anyway, overall, I thought this was okay. I thought it was pretty decent. You know, like I say, there was nothing particularly special or new that I found as a long-time Megadeth fan, and I think my score, honestly, for this is going to be a 6 out of 10. I feel similar to this as I did to their previous album, The Sick, The Dying, The Dead. Maybe on about the same page. Maybe I actually slightly prefer their last album, to be honest. And yeah, it's all right. It's fine. It does what it does. But yeah, it certainly isn't a bad album by any stretch of the imagination. I just thought, as a Swan song and a long-time Megadeth fan, I just thought, throw everything at this, Dave. Just give it, and it just didn't feel like that quite happened with the band and with this last release. So I'm just being honest about that, guys. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Did you love this one? What did you think? What were your favourite songs? Did you like Made to Kill, for example? Did you like Tipping Point? Those were probably my favourites from this one. Otherwise, from me, as always on the Green Man, have good weeks, and yeah, bye for now.